أوين واسميان إثقاتاش ما اختيتي ملكوثاخ إهوي صوياناخ إكناد وشمية أبرها هولا لخما سنقان يومانا وسوق لن خوبين إكناد بخنا شواق خياوي لا تعلى النسيان إلا بصل من بيشا مطل دينا خيم الكوثاخ خينا ودشبخت العالم قال منامي.
I don't know what to do, if I should tell her or not. I'm scared. I don't know how she's going to react. Should I? Shouldn't I?
Hey Myrna, you seem upset. Is everything okay?
Not really, Rania. The other day I accidentally broke my mum's vase and I blamed it on my brother. And I didn't tell her the truth. And now I feel really bad about it. I feel like I should tell her the truth that it was me. But I'm scared at how she's going to react.
It is always best to be honest, but I know it can be really hard. Would you feel better if I came with you?
Yes, that will make me feel much better. And hopefully she won't scream at me as much.
Hey girls, we're just looking for you.
Hi Amy.
Oh, what's wrong?
Well, Myrna was just telling me that she broke her mum's vase and she blamed it on her brother. But now she feels really bad and so she wants to be honest. So I'm going to go with her and help her tell her mum.
That's great news. That'll be much easier to go together. 2 is always better than 1. Hi, welcome to Asika TV. We're here today with Season 3, Episode 5. Woo! Great to see you here again. Today, we're learning about saints. We are all called to be saints, but sometimes we need a little help. Today, we are going to meet 2 very close friends who were very unlikely to be Christians, let alone saints. Their names are Saints Sargis and Bakos, and their friendship helped them to be zealous and strong in their faith.
Zealous? Amy, I think you said the wrong word. Don't you mean jealous?
No, Rania. I meant to say the word zealous. Zeal is when someone has a very strong belief in something. Today, we will see that Saints Sargis and Bakos experienced some difficult and intense challenges, but God gave them the strength, zeal, and most importantly, each other to get through it all. Let us learn just how important it is to have good friendships. Welcome to Storytime. We're going to hear about the lives of the 2 great friends, Sargis and Bakos. Saints Sargis and Bakos lived in the 4th century and were Roman citizens. They became friends while they were serving as soldiers in the Roman army in Mesopotamia. During their time in the army, they eventually became very high-ranking officers, and they were very much liked by the Roman Emperor Galerius. Like most of the Roman citizens at that time, Emperor Galerius was a pagan. Now, if you remember, the pagans would serve a lot of little gods for lots of different things. But Saints Sargis and Bakos had secretly converted to Christianity, and they would not offer worship to the pagan gods. One day, an army guard, which included Saints Sargis and Bakos, was told to accompany Emperor Galerius to the pagan temple to worship Jupiter. As they arrived at the temple, Saints Sargis and Bakos refused to go inside and offer worship to Jupiter. When Galerius heard this, he immediately called for the 2 friends to be brought to him. Now, with much zeal, Saints Sargis and Bakos went to Galerius and confessed their faith in the one true God. Before I tell you what happened next, can you think of a time where something embarrassing might have happened to you? What did you want to do in that situation?
Well, once when I was in my class, I didn't notice, but the chair wasn't where it was supposed to be, and I went to sit down and I fell down, and all I wanted to do was just hide. I was really embarrassed.
That is embarrassing. One time, my friend was sick and she was away at school, so I was by myself, and I just wanted to hide.
Didn't know where to go, what to do.
No.
It's not a very nice feeling to be embarrassed, and often we just want to run away and escape from that situation as quickly as possible. Well, after they had confessed their faith in Jesus Christ, something very embarrassing happened to Saint Sargis and Bakos as well. Let's see what they did. Galerius had ordered Saint Sargis and Bakos to be arrested, and then he made them wear women's clothes. And he paraded them around the town for everyone to see. Talk about embarrassing. Let's think back to the time when you might have felt embarrassed, like you just mentioned. How do you think that time would have been different if you had a friend there with you?
Well, for me, it was a bit hard to get up after I fell off my chair. If my friend was there, she would have helped me, and I wouldn't be so embarrassed.
And if my friend had come to school, I wouldn't have been all alone.
That's true. Because Saint Sargis and Bakos had each other to encourage one another, they did not run away from the very embarrassing situation. Instead, they endured this punishment until Galerius sent them off to Barbalisos, it's a tough word, to be tried by Antiochus, the military commander. Now, Antiochus was a good friend of Saint Sargis, and he tried to convince them both to give up their faith in Jesus and serve the pagan gods. But there was nothing Antiochus could say or do to convince them to deny the true God. So he ordered them to be beaten. They were tortured so badly that Saint Bakos died. Saint Sargis continued to be tortured over the next few days, and he was forced to run around wearing planks of wood covered in sharp nails on his feet.
Ouch.
Ouch. While Saint Sargis was being tortured, Saint Bakos' spirit appeared to him and gave him encouragement to keep enduring until the end.
Wow.
So that they could be together in heaven. The next day, Saint Sargis was executed and died. It was an interesting story, don't you think? It was pretty amazing to see how Saint Sargis and Bakos encouraged and supported each other to keep their faith through all their sufferings.
I agree. It was nice to see how their strong friendship made their faith even stronger.
It sure did, and that's why it's so important to have good friendships. Let's imagine that Saint Sargis and Bakos were not friends. How do you think they would have felt if they had to face the emperor on their own?
Well, I think it would have been a lot harder to face the emperor, and they definitely would have been more scared.
Yes, I think they would have been much more scared if they had to face the emperor on their own. But we have to remember that when we are standing up for God, God will always give us zeal and strength to do so. In this story, God gave Saint Sargis and Bakos strength by giving them a friend to support them. Can you think of a time when you had a friend to support you through a hard or even embarrassing time? Or maybe you were a good friend to someone when they needed you.
I remember that time when I broke my mum's vase and I was too scared to tell her. Well, Rania decided to come along with me to help me tell her, and I felt stronger then.
That's a good example. It is important to have good friends to support and help us when we need it. Let's do an activity to help us understand what the Bible says about friendship. I'm going to read a verse to each of you, and I want you to write it in your own words. Write what you think it means in your own words. Okay? So I'll start with a verse from the book of Ecclesiastes.
That's a big word too, Amy.
It is. There are a lot of big words in this story today. It's from chapter 4, verses 9 to 10. And it reads, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. For if either of them falls, the one will lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls when there is not another to lift him up. What do you think that might mean, ladies?
Do you want to read this one, Nana?
So, what did you come up with, Myrna?
Well, this verse shows us that God has called us to work together and has given us friends so that when we can help each other and lift each other up when we're feeling down.
Yeah, it actually does say that. What a nice verse. Rania, are you ready for me to give you a verse too?
I think so.
Okay, so the verse will be from the first book of Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 33.
Okay.
The verse says, "Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits." What did you come up with, Rania?
Well, to me, it sounds like this verse is a warning. And a warning that we should be careful who we choose as our friends. And if we choose the wrong kind of friends that don't follow God, they can lead us onto the wrong path.
Wow, that's an important verse then. Thinking back to Saint Sargis and Bakos, imagine if one of them wasn't strong in their faith and led the other one to deny God and worship in the pagan temple. That would have been even worse than having to face the emperor alone.
Yeah. And actually, remember Antiochus? Yes. He was Saint Sargis's friend, but he tried to convince him to give up Jesus. Not a very good friend.
You're right. We learn that God has given us friendship to help us build our faith and stay on the right path. But in order to do that, we need to choose the right kind of friends, just like Saint Sargis and Bakos chose each other. Before we move on to our object lesson, let's take some time to think about what kind of friend we are to those people around us. Our friends at school, our siblings, our cousins. A good thing for us is that the Bible has given us some guidance on what a good friend is. Some guidance can be found in the book of Colossians, chapter 3, verses 12 to 14. It says, "So, as to those who have been chosen of God, holy and beloved, put on a heart of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving each other, whoever has a complaint against anyone. Just as the Lord forgave you, so also should you. Beyond all these things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity."
That's really nice.
Beautiful. What are some ways that you could show compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience? Let us always remember that when we are zealous for God, He will help us to be a good friend to those around us, and He will send us good friends that will keep us on the right path, just like Saint Sargis and Bakos.
Welcome to our object lesson. Today we're going to do an interesting experiment with these 3 cups and a piece of paper. Before we do anything, let me ask you, do you...
What are you wearing?
What are those?
They're my goggles. I don't want to get a paper cut. Safety first.
Okay.
As I was saying, do you think we can make this piece of paper hold up this cup?
No. How would that work? No way.
We're going to see. What do you think, Renu?
I don't know, Amy. Look, the cup is empty and it's pretty light, so it might just work.
I don't know. Let's see.
Okay, let's try. Ready?
See?
That didn't work very well, did it?
No.
Okay, let's try that again. Okay, but this time I'm going to fold this paper.
Okay.
Okay.
See if it's going to work.
Just by folding it? Okay.
Maybe she's going to fold it in a special way.
Okay. All right, let's try now.
I wonder if this will work.
What do you guys think? What do you vote?
I don't know now.
I think it will.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yes.
Folding the paper made it stronger, so it could hold up the cup. This is just like us choosing our friends. The piece of paper before it was folded was not a very good friend. It couldn't even hold us up. But the folded paper is like a friend who is full of all those things we just read about from the Bible. Compassion, kindness, humility, and love. They are strong and good friends that will hold us up. What kind of friend do you think St. Bakos was to St. Sargis? Was he the flat paper or the folded paper?
Definitely the folded paper, right?
That's right. Remember how St. Bakos' spirit appeared to St. Sargis to give him encouragement? St. Bakos was a really good and faithful friend to St. Sargis, and he helped to keep his own faith in God, even until his death.
Welcome to our craft lesson. As we saw with Saint Sargis and Bakos, good friends always stick together. Even in death, they were still supporting each other. Until this day, Saint Sargis and Bakos are commemorated together in the church.
Wait a minute, Rania. What does it mean to be commemorated?
That's a good question, Amy. When saints are commemorated, they are celebrated in the church, usually with Holy Raza. And we remember their holy lives that they lived for God while they were on earth.
Wow, so St. Sargis and St. Bakos really did stay together forever, even until now.
Yeah. So today we're going to make some friendship sticks to remind us that friends always stick together. But of course we're going to need some supplies. So first we'll need some scissors and a texter, something to draw with. We'll need 10 paddle pop sticks. And lastly we're going to need some masking tape. Alright, should we start? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stick every 2 of our paddle pop sticks together like this. Like that, and then we'll just put 1 line of tape there. So Amy, can I get you to cut the tape out for us?
Sure.
This one is a little bit thick, so we might cut it in half again. Is that okay?
Yeah.
No, this way.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Thank you. All right, and then we'll put these in pairs and we'll stick them on. Okay, so now that all our paddle pop sticks are in pairs, we're going to stick the pairs together again, but we'll put the tape on the other side this time. Okay? Now this is important, the tape has to go on the other side. Alright, so we'll need this piece, and then can we have some more, Amy?
Yep.
So now we have a canvas.
Oh, that's cool.
Now what we're going to do on this is we're going to draw some friends. Myrna, can I get you to do that? Okay. So maybe 2 friends. She's drawing our hair, Amy.
Oh, goodness.
So you can draw a picture of your friends on there, or maybe your brother or sister, or your cousin. That's
Mike
definitely
curly
his hair.
Good.
Ooh, very cool. And then on the other side, you can always write some words that will remind you to be a good friend. Maybe some of the words we read earlier.
That's a good idea.
And now, when you're finished writing and drawing, you can fold your sticks together. Fold them down.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And this is a way for us to remember that friends always stick together, just like St. Sargis and St. Bakos.
We've come to the end of our lesson, and here are 3 things we've learned.
I learned that when we are standing up for God, don't be afraid, because God will always give us zeal and strength to do so.
I learned that it's important to choose good friends that will help us build up our faith, like Saint Sargis and Saint Bakos. We don't want to choose bad friends that will lead us to the wrong path.
And I learned to always keep a lookout for those good friends that God sends us. And when we find them, to always make sure we stick together in the faith. We loved having you here and we're so happy you got to tune in. We hope to see you next week. Bye!
That will hold us up. What's funny? I said it made their faith even stronger.